Welcome back to another episode of the Outsiders Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey Jason, Dylan Mel, Ben Mandel, bringing it back to you. August is coming to a close. Got another week or so left. Then we get into September. The races are really heating up. Not every division is solidified. Not every race is finished. We're going to be getting there. But I think some of the ones that are still, pretty far apart, even if you're 5 games, separated, that's not over by any means. And there's a couple races I want to talk about, but first, I think we need to really discuss what Rob Manfred said during the Seattle Mets game last night, Sunday Night Baseball, because it was truly horrifying. It gave me actual nightmares thinking about this because, this is somebody who's actually trying to harm the future of the sport. This is a dangerous man who should not be walking free among the people.
I can only imagine if people don't know what we're talking about, what they think you're going to say.
Rob Manfred wants to do one good thing and one bad thing.
Oh, wait. Is the good thing retiring in 29?
No, because that's way too far away. The good thing is expansion. I think expansion's a fine idea. I don't mind it.
I mean,
Long time coming.
Teams that spend money right now, so
no, but you can get owners that are willing to spend money. Not everybody needs to be a Bob Nutting. You can get a Steve Cohen.
I mean, I hate the idea of expansion.
Worry about the teams that don't spend money first before adding new ones.
Fine, I can get behind that, but
also worry about having teams that are just competitive, because you don't have enough competitive teams. Like a different league, like the NBA, that's looking to expand, makes sense because there's so much European talent coming in and it's just flooded. The MLB has multiple dumpster fire teams every single year. I mean, for the past half decade, there's always been a Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, but you can argue that's because the stars are so just widely or not widely dispersed. Like in Major League Baseball, you have teams that don't spend money, so everyone ends up in New York or LA.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, again, maybe instead of expanding, relocating and getting new ownership for the teams you have. But
I don't know if I love a relocation, because I think that's like a Band-Aid and not an actual fix.
Relocation should require the owner to sell the team.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Or, like, if you buy a team and want to relocate immediately,
I just feel like, one, if you do that, you shouldn't be able to actually keep the team name and the history. Make it a fresh team. Leave that history with the fan base that actually experienced it.
I don't know. It depends. Because
how often do we see, a team relocating actually work out well?
Not that it's going to happen, but say the Texas Rangers relocated to Dallas. We wouldn't just be like, oh, it's all gone now.
They basically play in Dallas.
I was about to say, that's not much of a relocation.
That's like saying that the Yankees moved to Manhattan.
Like a team that moves in its own state or in a certain mile radius.
Like if the Rays moved to Tallahassee?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. If they became the Jacksonville Rays or even...
I mean, I guess that's one thing, but not if they became like the New Orleans Rays.
Yeah, like you think the Las Vegas A's should be the Las Vegas something else and Oakland's retired.
Yes, I think Oakland retire it. One, I think the Giants are really scummy for how they did the A's. When the Giants were having, money issues with the city, the A's backed them up. And then as soon as the A's were trying to have that same type of stadium deal issue with money, the Giants basically did all they could to get the A's gone. Stab them in the back.
That dang Buster Posey.
Ben knows this as long as I've known him. I've been a very big anti-Buster Posey guy. And I feel so vindicated that he's one of the most hated men in baseball. But
Corey has hated Buster Posey for as long as I could remember.
And I'm right. I'll be proven right. He'll be left off my unofficial Hall of Fame ballot because he just doesn't deserve it.
Like
But
me and Jerickson Profar, Corey, and Buster Posey.
no.
And Dylan and Alec Bohm.
What you guys have on Bohm and Profar, I've got nothing on how I feel about Posey. Hate the man. But like I said, I don't mind expansion so much as I hate realignment. The NBA way of doing things is really bad. East and West is a stupid way to run a league.
I disagree.
For baseball, it is.
For baseball, it is, but not for the NBA and not for hockey.
Sure, but for football, it wouldn't work either.
I mean, it kind of already is an East and West league in football.
Not
Because
really. You have AFC,
your divisions
NFC.
are split up geographically. That's the thing. Baseball is fine because your divisions are geographic. Like, just don't worry about that. The fact that you get interleague and there's 2 leagues in each area of the country of the American and National League in each region is what makes baseball special.
Yes. And the reason why they want to kind of realign is because, one, they think there's a lot of wear and tear on players traveling. I have a very novel idea on how to fix this. Go back to having the AL and NLB separate schedules where you play 1 month of the year against each other so they're not flying around everywhere.
Play 1 division a year, and that's that.
Go back to how they used to do it.
Yeah.
Make June interleague month.
Cut down from 162 games and make more teams watchable. That way there's still baseball on every night for people who want to watch it. I mean, that's a novel idea. If you could cut it down to where a team is playing 1 series a week and there's still baseball on every single night. And it'll make the games more important.
Yeah, but like also too, here's the issue with that. Because part of a grind in a season is testing your starting.
Well, so I'm not saying 3 games a week specifically, but I'm saying you could make it to where you're playing, every other day.
If you do that, you only need 3 starting pitchers.
I don't think something like that is ever realistic. I think if they cut down from 162, it'll be literally like 154.
Well, like they don't even play every other day when it comes to the playoffs because of what it would do for pitching.
Yeah, you're giving it's a massive advantage to the pitching, and I just don't see that being an option. I was
gonna say I also have a novel idea about complaining about the wear and tear. Too bad.
I'm with you.
You guys are getting hundreds of millions of dollars at the end of the day to play baseball. Too bad, I guess.
Sport.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars and the greatest doctors and nutrition and health specialists money could buy.
Yeah, I'm not like a shut up and dribble person.
Time. These guys get off for anything.
Shut up and hit the bat and away.
Yeah, I'm not that type of person. I believe in the MLB or NBA Players Association, the people that work for it. But you play baseball from April to October for most teams. Some of them go further.
I was going to say April through September. That's it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, suck it up. And if you got to take 2 weeks off to rest a sore hamstring, do it.
But also, I feel like the players' union would be more in line to agree with the fans and us, where they don't want this realignment. Think about it this way. Realignment, if they did, an expansion and realignment, let's say they go to 32 teams, it will be 8 divisions of 4 teams each. You can't tell me a division of Yankees, Mets, Boston, and Phillies good for baseball. You destroy what makes Yankees and Mets special. It's killed. You destroy it. Nobody cares about Knicks, Nets.
In fact, you're taking 4 of the biggest markets you have and immediately taking 3 of them out of the playoffs.
Yeah. It just makes no sense. And this is what Manfred said, if I'm going to quote him. He said, I think if we expand, it provides us with an opportunity to geographically realign. Again, like I said, he said it saves wear and tear, but one of the other points he noted was how the postseason format would be a lot, more appealing for ESPN. His first thoughts aren't for the fans and what makes the sport special. It's for his corporate sponsors. Tar and feather the man. Lock him up. He belongs underneath a jail cell. He has done nothing but hurt baseball's future. You have a ghost runner at second. He added a clock to the sport. I mean, get him out of here. He has done more harm than Bud Selig, in my opinion. And Bud Selig turned a blind eye to the steroid era.
Yeah, I mean, I also think if you do, because I pulled up here what a potential realignment would look like. The Northeast Division, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Phillies. Like, even if it didn't dilute some of those rivalries the way that we're talking about, which we all agree it would, some of the other divisions are just so uninteresting. The Great Lakes Division, Blue Jays, Guardians, Reds, Tigers. Like this year it would work out, but some other years it wouldn't. Atlantic, Pirates, Nationals, Orioles, Charlotte expansion team. Like all of those teams are terrible this year. Southeast, Braves, Marlins, Rays, Nashville expansion team. That the Braves just gonna walk into the playoffs every year. Like some of them aren't like too bad, but
how do you split the Dodgers and Giants, a long historical rivalry?
Yeah, you would according to this. Southwest would be Dodgers, Angels, Padres, Diamondbacks. Northwest, Giants, Mariners, Rockies, Athletics. Even though the Athletics are moving to Vegas, so
I was looking at a map of where all the teams are located, and I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out a way that you keep Giants and Dodgers in the same division without it looking weird. You have to. You have to split them up if you geographically realign. It just makes sense. And, I was having a debate with some friends about this the other day because Manfred said that Giants Dodgers is a more prolific or as prolific of a rivalry as Yankees Red Sox. And again, that's something so out of touch because a rivalry isn't just now. A rivalry is what has happened in the past and what will be in the future. Giants Padres is the equivalent of Yankees Rays from a few years ago. Just a really good team and a perennial contender, not what the Giants and Dodgers have had going back, almost 100 years, going back to when they were New York teams having a rivalry. So one, it's an insult to the Giants to put the Padres in the same breath as a rival to the Dodgers. And it's an insult to actual great rivalries.
Yeah, and who knows how long this Padres success is going to last with all their question marks at ownership right now.
Exactly. So to utter that is so asinine and stupid. And he's just on a roll of alienating his whole entire fan base. Like, again, he said that the 10 p.m. slot is one that they want to up the ratings for, and he thinks that this will help. Not what's better for the sport. It's what's better to line the pockets of him, ESPN, and the owners. He also in the past has noted Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Portland as three of the top frontrunners for an expansion team. And he wants to expand before his contract is up, like you guys said, in 2029. So this is coming sooner than later. And I think this is going to be a big contentious point in the new CBA.
I just don't understand why expansion would be a priority when people already can't watch teams that aren't local.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like it's your availability to be watched is not high. So again, I mentioned the NBA. They just signed a massive deal with NBC and Amazon Prime, and they released their schedule. There's going to be NBA that is easily accessible every single night of the week, whether it's on NBC, ESPN, or Amazon Prime, which most people have Prime. I get that one's more of like a subscription-based service, but even if you don't, you're still going to be able to get different NBA games 4 out of 7 nights a week. For baseball, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN and one TBS game a week.
You get Apple TV, which you have to pay
Roku.
for.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
Apple TV, I feel like,
Mhm.
has way less subscribers than Amazon Prime.
I can count on one
100%.
hand the amount of people I know that
So-
subscribe to Apple TV.
So that's what I mean when I say, like, the Amazon Prime, I included because most people have it already. But if you didn't, it's still half of the week you could watch NBA. And again, they're so flooded with talent right now that an expansion for them makes sense. For the MLB, it feels like this is a rushed move because Manfred wants to be the guy who led to an expansion but the league's not ready for it because one, you don't have so much talent that every roster is overly competitive. You barely have enough talent to field a playoff field with the new playoff system of teams that actually feel like they have a real shot to go and do something. And then it's nearly impossible to watch teams that aren't local and good games. Like we'll talk about it, but the Dodgers and Padres play this weekend. So do the Yankees and Red Sox. Of those games, if you don't have Apple TV, you're getting to watch one of 6, unless you're local.
And I wonder how much of each team owning their own media rights plays a part in it. Like the Yankees have their own contract with Prime to air every game on every Wednesday on Prime only.
Yeah, I would, in the new CBA, if I was the ownership, I'd be fighting for media rights, like for the MLB. Like if I was the MLB, I would want to be able to disperse any game that I want.
But that has nothing to do with the players.
I mean, I would try and when we're all negotiating everything, get that in there somehow.
I don't think the players care where their game is being broadcasted.
I bet they would care what percent of media rights.
In a league that doesn't have a salary cap and ownership trying to spend in the league spending money, the players would actually almost rather the teams do whatever they have to make more money, because that should, in theory, trickle down, because the amount of money being spent is based off of the revenue each team is creating, not necessarily a salary cap that they're supposed to, adhere by. So I understand that side of things. It's just Major League Baseball. Rob Manfred specifically talking about wanting to up ratings in a window. Well, you have the sport that is the hardest to watch at this point. It is the hardest. You cannot see every game. It's physically impossible at this point because of the amount of differences that you have to, have, amount of different services, just to watch regular
and
baseball
blackouts.
Games. The blackouts are ridiculous, but I would understand if there was actually like a reason to black out. Like if cable was common and people typically had cable, a majority of the people had cable and were able to have access to that channel. That's the reason why you do the blackouts, because cable companies were going to be annoyed if people were just going and watching on MLB.com as opposed to paying for the cable service. The problem is not a lot of people have cable anymore, and if you do have cable, odds are you don't get the channel. It took me forever to get SNY. Because the only carriers that have it at this point are Comcast and like Hulu TV. A lot of things are dropping it, and it's making it impossible to watch. And I think ultimately what Major League Baseball and almost every league is trying to eventually shift towards is having that where you just have to pay a subscription service for Major League Baseball, no matter what team you want to watch.
But then you could get all the games
NFL
theoretically.
does with NFL Plus.
But then theoretically, you could watch all the games, like how Sunday Ticket is with the NFL.
Right,
exactly. And I think that's the idea behind it. And I'm almost on board with it, but it needs to get there,
Yeah, I mean, and the blackouts are ridiculous because they're not even perfect. I mean, Ben, you obviously went to school out by me, so you know what I'm getting at here. But in Northeast Pennsylvania,
the Yankees
games are blacked out. So if the Yankees are on TBS, I can't watch the game it's blacked out, and they say that I got to go to the local listing. Well, guess what's not on my cable network? Yes Network. So, and then if I get the Yes Network app, which is changed name so many times, I think it's Gotham Sports now. It's about three pitches behind wherever Corey will be at watching on
at least three pitches.
Because me and Corey would text about Yankees games, and he would text me like, "Great hit there from Judge," and then I'm still watching somebody else at the plate. It got to the point
in my life. I've been dealing with that for years now.
It gets to the point I gotta delay myself as best as I can to text.
But then I'm paying $30 a month for a streaming service that's so far behind.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the MLB should be focusing on resolving issues like that rather than expanding to make even more games not accessible.
No, exactly.
It gets me so angry thinking about this because, one, you've had the Ghost Runner implemented, and that still hasn't gone. And that was supposed to, only be a COVID precaution to speed games up during that one season. That's still there. You don't have that rule in the playoffs, but you have it in the regular season. That's not right. That's not how it should be.
Many people are on board with that. You're not going to win that argument, though.
I don't mind the Ghost Runner, to be honest, but I do kind of agree that changing the way that teams play games in the playoffs, it is kind of like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of strategizing for this for 162, and then when the games matter, that strategy doesn't matter anymore?
We are so close to not having any games go past like the 11th inning, and then just having the 12th inning replaced by a home run derby, like a shootout in hockey. Like, it's not even funny how close we are to probably getting that in the next 10 years.
But then they won't do that in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but also, too, you look at hockey, I understand regular season games need to end at some point. There's no need to kill your team's pitching. There's no need for it. I'm actually on board with getting these games to end earlier because, again, like hockey, where you have 5 minutes of 3-on-3, and then you go to a shootout. But guess what? Come playoff time, it's continuous 5-on-5 overtime. Like, it's okay to change things because extra innings and all of these rules and stuff are just to break a tie. It's not like, the complete game has changed how it's being played.
But then again, the strategy has changed. Both leagues now have
strategy and extra innings changes, but also too, again, in hockey, it changes. The guy you're going to have take your shootout shot is not necessarily the guy you're going to put out there in overtime. Like, it takes defensemen completely out of hockey when it comes to that. The goaltenders, who are some of the better players, are put at a strong disadvantage in the shootout. So it's not like changing things just to kind of speed things up and prolong, the health of your guys to make sure that come playoff time, you do have your stars out there on the field. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's a joke. That's what it is. It's an embarrassment. Baseball prides itself on being an unchanging game, or barely changing for over 100 years.
Yeah, but when no one's watching and no one can keep up with it, eventually you do have
to make some changes. I can admit that the pitch clock is a losing battle for me. That's getting people in, but the Ghost Runner isn't keeping people engaged. Nobody's watching the game saying, man, I hope there's a Ghost Runner because that's really going to end the game quick.
No, you know what people are saying, though, if they're watching a game in the 9th, 10th, 11th inning? Oh, I hope this ends soon.
It's just it's a phantom runner. How did they get? You didn't earn the win. You didn't do anything to deserve to win a game when the Ghost Runner scores is the winning run.
Both teams get it.
It doesn't matter. You didn't earn it.
There's no difference.
How did the runner get there?
Get it.
How did the runner get there?
I don't have any problem
with
the Ghost Runner.
Magic. Just appeared.
Undeserved. Would you rather, in the regular season, then 9 innings are up, straight to the home run derby, then no Ghost Runner, everybody saves their pitching? Well,
I'd rather you keep going, and I don't care if it takes 18 innings because those are the cool stories you hear about.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool
With a
and
random,
fun
the
when
once in
those
a million,
things
the
The
happen.
cool
once in a
story
million.
that you'll eventually hear about is, oh my God, like blah, blah, blah team was shorthanded. And then their backup first baseman hit 3 home runs in the home run derby to win them that game. Like, the cool story will be replaced. Like, we saw it in the All-Star game, and everybody came up here and talked about Kyle Schwarber.
I mean, I think we more or less talked about Aaron Boone just botching that and putting Jonathan Aranda.
But you could talk about that too.
It's just not baseball.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me because it's changing so much so quick. You're not letting any of these changes breathe and get a new generation to accept it. Like, I'm sure I would have hated the idea of one league with a DH, one league without if I was in the if I grew up in the 60s.
I mean, listen,
and
we get
happened
it.
in the 70s.
You are the 70-year-old man at Walmart
No,
who
but,
hates
like,
self-checkout and
I
is
get it, but,
pissed
like,
that there's only 2 lanes open. We get it.
let it breathe. Don't change 50 things in the span of 5 years.
We get it.
I admit
They got
it,
locks on the cabinets now,
but to me, there's
self-checkout.
no difference between the Ghost Runner and realignment. It's a radical change to what is at the heart of the sport.
So that's where we disagree, because I can't speak solely for Ben as well, but for me, the realignment problem is I'm already not interested in a third of the league. A third of the league isn't fielding competitive teams, and I can't watch 85% of the league. So adding more to that creates a problem. The Ghost Runner, especially for me who lives on the East Coast, lets me go to bed earlier.
I get it. I get the going to bed earlier, but I do want to get back on track with the realignment because went on a bit of a tangent about other stuff. But realignment and expansion just makes no sense for where the sport's at now. And it just, I can't see a benefit to them doing either in the near future. You know, if you do expand, realignment makes sense, but a geographical realignment where you get rid of the AL and the NL doesn't. Now, if you told me you wanted to revamp the AL and the NL and keep them separate, where maybe, you know, you keep the Yankees and Red Sox together, but maybe the Blue Jays do go to a Midwest and you shake things up that way, I can maybe understand the thinking. And I don't think I'm alone in that. But when you combine the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Phillies, that's where you lose me. Keep
I
the
agree
Mets
there.
and the Phillies separate from the Yankees and Red Sox. You know, do the Mets need to be in a division with the Marlins? No, I don't. You don't need the Yankees. Don't need to be in a division with Tampa. They don't need to be in a division with Toronto or even Baltimore, for that matter. The Mets need to be in a division with Philly. I would say they probably need to be in a division with Atlanta. They don't need to be in a division with Washington, though. So you have these little things, and they need to be kept separate. So
Yeah.
you can realign that way with the separate AL and NL and figure things out that way, and maybe have some teams switch, like you've had the Astros and the Brewers go NL to AL, AL to NL. That is one thing. But a geographical radical realignment is harmful, at least in my opinion.
I agree that crossing AL and NL is a bad idea.
Let's talk about our teams, though, that are in separate leagues and divisions for now. Phillies, John's not here. We can briefly touch on them.
I don't
They're
know if it's
three.
going to be brief. There's a big story with them.
Phillies are 3-4. They went 1-2 versus Cincinnati since we last spoke. 2-2 versus Washington. Last 10, they're 6-4, 71-53 overall. They're still 5 games up on the Mets, 8 games back of Milwaukee for the number 1 seed. How are you guys viewing Philly, especially ahead of, you know, next week's big matchup against the Mets that, you know, might decide what's going on?
You could argue, I mean, I don't want to say argue, but it's possible that the Phillies lost Zach Wheeler for the season. Like, he's dealing with a blood clot issue, and we're at the mid to late August point, and who knows? Like, it is very possible that he, obviously for his health, needs to sit for the rest of the year. And that would be, in terms of baseball speaking, a massive blow to the Philadelphia Phillies and their World Series chances, because they were one of the two best odds teams to win the NL and represent the NL in the World Series with Zach Wheeler healthy, especially now that they had Duran. They had an injury scare with Duran where he was like carted off, but he ended up being fine. So, like, sigh of relief there. But
When I
without
saw that, I
Wheeler,
thought that was very Phillies closer curse.
without Wheeler, I don't know. The one thing that I would say if I was a Phillies fan going into the postseason, I was very confident in our first four pitchers in terms of Wheeler, Luzardo, Suarez, and Sanchez, if I was a Phillies fan. Now Nola's got to get back in there, and he's been pretty horrendous this year. He's coming off of an injury, so maybe he was hurt to open the year and he took the time to recover, but that is a massive blow for the Phillies in the long term if Wheeler cannot get back.
Yeah, the Phillies, I mean, the way the Mets are reeling definitely, makes things a little bit easier down the stretch when it comes to that. Now, I still don't feel easy regarding the whole Duran thing. I get, it's a ball off the leg, carted off, so you figure he's okay if he says he's 100% like he is saying. But I'm kind of just on the team of, you don't just do that for no reason. I would still be a little concerned of something happening down the road. And look, when you look at things with the Phillies, yeah, Wheeler is a big part of that rotation, but pitching depth is something that they've had. So it's not a huge concern. Like,
I don't think it's a
yes,
huge concern for the intermediate, but going into the playoffs, if they can't have him, like that could be a
yes,
disaster.
it's a problem once you get to the Dodgers. It's a problem once you get to the Dodgers. You need every single piece you have to play that team. But I don't know. I feel better about the Phillies than I have for most of this season.
And I just feel that losing Wheeler matters. We still have a month and a half left of the season. The divisions are not locked up. The Mets have a chance. They're 5 games back. That's not a tremendous amount of ground to pick up.
I
Losing
think
your
if the
ace,
Phillies won the division, though, going against that Mets lineup or that Padres lineup in the postseason, like that, having Wheeler for that matters.
yeah. And Wheeler was, a Cy Young candidate. Not going to say he was the favorite, but he was in that consideration. He was going to get Cy Young votes. He probably still will. But even beyond how it affects the Phillies, a blood clot, could lead to a stroke or an aneurysm or a
Well,
heart.
that's again why they have to be why he
Ultra
has
cautious.
to be super cautious, and that's why I'm floating out the idea that could be it. I mean, we all hope that it's not, obviously, but it's unpredictable how long it lasts.
You want to err on the side of caution, especially because you want him back healthy for next year too. The Phillies will still be in contention next year. I have no doubts about that. So if you have to go for the rest of this season without him and hope that he heals for next year and for the rest of his own life, that's the way you need to go, and not rush him back for October or, the second playoff series or the third with the World Series. Do right by him, because that also gets you a lot of good press as a team with other free agents, and it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, I do kind of want to go towards the Mets. Ben, the Mets are 3-3. Most wins the Mets have had, as we've discussed now in a couple of weeks. 1-2 versus Atlanta, 2-1 versus Seattle. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Still struggling, but on the up and up. 66-58 overall. Now, like I said before, they're 5 games back of Philly. They're 1.5 games up on Cincinnati for that third wild card. They're 3 games back of San Diego for that second, and 4 games back of Chicago for that first. Ben, are the Mets turning a corner or no?
I mean, look, you like to think that they're turning a corner, but I mean, you just never really know. I think getting that win on Sunday night against the Mariners was big because you won a series against a team that has been very hot, a team that has a great lineup, and you were able to win that game with Nolan McLean and Clay Holmes as your starting pitchers. Holmes only going 5, McLean going 5 2/3. So you're still not getting length out of your starting pitching because those are your 2 longest starts you've gotten this week. You're not getting length. They lost 2 games against, or they lost the 2 games against the Braves that they had no business losing. It's just they're not playing good baseball. They're not pitching well enough. The offense is hitting. Lindor has been on fire. Alonso just broke the home run record, the franchise home run record this past week. Soto has been very good. He's cooled off a bit after his scorching July, but he's still been pretty solid. So, I always say it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. Well, it's been pretty bad for a while now. So hopefully things are turning around. I'm just not quite ready to say that it is, especially when you're not getting those innings out of your starting pitching.
Yeah, for sure. And at this point in the season, I do like to play a little bit of the look ahead game. And the Mets have 16, I would say, massive games left on their schedule. There's still 7 games versus the Phillies. Like, Corey mentioned, they're 5 back in the division. So obviously huge opportunities there. You have a 3-game set at Cincinnati, a 3-game set versus San Diego, and right at the end of the year, September 23rd through September 25th, a 3-game set at Chicago. There is a lot of room over the next month and a half for the Mets to control their own destiny as they are playing a lot of teams that they're competing with for playoff spots. Obviously, there's other games mixed in there, and each individual game counts the same, but getting a win while also giving those teams losses is very, very big. And I think similar to last year, what's going to carry this Mets team is the lineup. And I do think as hot as some of the players that have been cold are getting, Juan Soto at 30 home runs, Pete Alonso still who Pete Alonso is, it's very possible that the Mets get hot to end August, go into September playing some real competitive baseball, and go on a similar run to what they did last year.
And it all starts, the offense keeping it going, but the pitching, if they can start to get length from their guys, especially some of the young guys coming up. Now, on a side note, I do want to point out how funny it is that it's McLean, right? That's his name?
Yeah, Nolan McLean.
Nolan McLean, that his favorite players growing up were Bryce Harper and Chase Utley, and now he's a stud pitcher for the Mets. I do see some humor in that. But the Mets now are getting younger. You still got guys like Jonah Tong coming up. The Mets had a bunch of really great prospects go up from AA to AAA.
Brandon Sproat is the other big pitching prospect.
Jet Williams is there. Yep. There's a lot of great players. Carson Benj.
No, the farm is as good as it's been.
And it's very top heavy, where the Mets are not operating at what will be their ceiling for the next 5 years. That's still yet to come because they have a lot of high-end young talent. So getting them up and getting them a taste of what a real pennant race is like is also extremely beneficial to not just this year, but the next year and the year after that. So the Mets are in a really solid spot for their future with bringing these young guys up, like putting in McLean to pitch, some big games, hopefully getting some other guys. So if they can get length out of McLean, maybe Sproat gets called up or Jonathan gets called up when the rosters expand a little bit, getting them some action in September. It's not like you need Clay Holmes to pitch. He's kind of hit a wall once he hit that innings limit. And, Kodai Senga has been a bit of a disappointment when it comes to length. It feels like 5 innings is his max and he can't go longer, right?
Yeah, since the injury, Senga's just not been right.
Frankie Montas, I wonder who could have predicted how bad he is. I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
Good for you, Corey.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I did.
Innings eater.
Don't lie. You wanted to say I told you so.
Oh, I absolutely did.
Innings eater. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
he is.
How many innings is he actually eating?
Like 7 for the whole season.
Exactly. That's like
huge.
So huge.
Yes, Manaea is still on the roster, but he hasn't really.
No, Manaea is one of the guys who's been rough, but
right. But
like the idea is that Manaea is hopefully, getting a bit better.
Right,
like,
Manaea is one of the guys
he's
I
been
believe in
improving.
Manaea. Right, you need to rely on him. The Mets aren't going to be able to make that magical run like they did last year if guys like Senga and Manaea and some of these younger guys step up.
Well, they only went on that run. Like, yeah, the lineup was great, but Manaea was their starter.
Right, Manaea, Severino was pretty great for them last year.
Savvy was awesome. Quintana threw some big innings for them.
So they need some guys to step up, and we know what their offense is. We know Lindor is great. We know Alonso's great. We know Soto is Soto. We know these things. Alvarez, before he got injured, was playing very good baseball. So
you got a guy like Vientos who can go on a run at any time.
Right.
We saw that last
He's
year.
another one who's
Brandon
been
Nimmo
up.
can tear the cover off the ball for a week straight if he had to. So the offense is going to produce, but you need some of these guys on the staff to really step up. You need Helsley to realize he's not the closer anymore, and he needs to be a team guy and perform in a setup role because you have a stud in Edwin Diaz. It's a mental game for a lot of these pitchers, and I believe that they can do it for the Mets, and I think the Mets could be scary in October, and we all know what seed Ben wants the Mets to be because that is the most dangerous seed in the postseason in the NL. Am I wrong?
I mean, look, last year was the first year they didn't make it all the way.
But they went pretty far.
They made it 2 games from the World Series. That's definitely true.
So the Mets by no means should ever be written off because they've demonstrated how much heart they have, but they're going to need some guys to really step it up that just haven't done it yet this year. Now, on the Yankee side of things, because the Yankees and Mets have kind of been in the same boat since at least the beginning of June. The Yankees are 5-1 since our last show. They went 2-1 versus Minnesota. Really should have swept. Then they did sweep the Cardinals 3-0. They're 7-3 in their last 10. 67-57 overall. 5.5 games back of Toronto. A half game back of Boston and Seattle for the first and second wild cards. The Yankees are 3.5 up on Cleveland for that third wild card spot. I'm not ready to say they've turned a corner yet, just because I need to see how they play in their 4-game set versus Boston.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because, as much as the Cardinals had something to fight for, the Twins had no fight in them. They're not playing for anything. The Cardinals are a team a lot of people were down on. So it's great that they're getting back in the win column and, their pitching is going a little deeper. They're getting contributions from third base all of a sudden. What a novel idea. Having somebody who can also play shortstop and spell Volpe and Jose Caballero. Again, who would have thought that you needed a player that could do that and that could contribute hitting the ball? But I'm not ready to say the Yankees are back or anywhere near back until we start to see them play Boston tougher, Toronto tougher.
No, I agree. I think that I don't want to say back, but starting to find identity, I think, is a good way to talk about this team. I do think with Judge fully healthy and in right field, this team does have the most dangerous lineup in the AL come playoff time. And that's obviously a spot that can propel you to a World Series title if you get hot at the right time. I feel like that's kind of what happened with the Rangers. Their pitching was decent in that series, but it was the bats. The Yankees pitching, Fried and Rodon have been solid at the top. Fried's fallen off a little bit. Rodon's come on a little bit, ups and downs of the season. Will Warren has been their third best pitcher this year, which has been surprising. He's actually been coming on, a lot better, kind of living up to maybe some of those Michael King comps. So maybe don't trade Will Warren this offseason before the breakout happens next year. And then Luis Gil had a bad first start, had a good second start. So hopefully that's your 4-man rotation going into the postseason. When I look at the Yankees schedule, similar to the way that I did the
Mets. Don't even skip Cam Schlittler either, because for a rookie who, started the year in Double-A and had a pretty meteoric rise this season, he's been
got
incredible.
gas. And he could be, I think that they would go with the 4 guys that I said for postseason, but a guy who can hit 100 out the pen as a potential 2-inning reliever if something goes south is not a bad option to have. And then, we look at the Yankees schedule. The next 3 weeks are incredibly massive. You have 2 at Tampa and then a 4-game set versus Boston. Then you have Washington and the White Sox, which is meh. But then starting September 2nd, 3-game set at Houston, 3-game set versus Toronto, 3-game set versus Detroit, 3-game set at Boston. That from September 2nd to September 14th is going to decide if the Yankees are AL East champions or if there is a ton of pressure on what should be a cakewalk to end the season. Starting September 15th at Minnesota, 3-game set, at Baltimore, 4-game set, versus Chicago, 3-game set, versus Baltimore, 3-game set. In the Yankees' last, 13, 14 games, something like that, they should have a 75 to 80 win percentage going into the playoffs. If in that 3-week stretch that's coming up here, they could be above 500 and really get wins against Boston and Toronto, the AL East is still up for grabs for the Yankees, despite where they are right now.
I mean, that stretch will determine, do they even make the playoffs? Do they even finish above 500? If they play like they have before this recent 10-game stretch, there's not a guarantee they win a single game, which is very
they'll
scary.
probably walk their way into a game, but I hear you. When you look at the Yankees in the AL, it's still they still have the best run differential in the entire league. They have a 93% shot to make the playoffs per ESPN. That is the 3rd highest behind Toronto and Detroit. So, the Yankees' schedule is favorable down the stretch, but that stretch there that we talked about, that 3-week stretch, they have to, win 4 of 7 against Boston. They have to get 2 of 3 versus Toronto. You should get 2 of 3 versus Detroit. It's time to win series.
Now, this is also a huge series on Boston, and Boston, they're 4-6 in their last 10. They've kind of been struggling a little bit. They need to win these games just as much as the Yankees do. Toronto,
this is playoff baseball in August.
Toronto, they want that 1 seed. They're a half game up on Detroit for that top spot in the AL. Even Houston is about 3.5 games back of them. So all these teams that the Yankees are playing, they're just as hungry as they are to have some wins.
Yeah, that's what you hope. You hope that the Yankees are hungry. Under Aaron Boone, there has certainly been times where, urgency has lacked.
Now, I don't know if you've looked into anything Clint Frazier has said on his podcast about the Yankees. I do find it a little interesting. How basically he's saying that, it doesn't make sense to be mad at Boone. He's a patsy. He's not the one making the lineups. He's not making many of the decisions that people are upset at.
Well, so we've talked about that for as long as the podcast has gone on, and I have zero connection to the Yankee organization, but you've, said your displeasures with Aaron Boone multiple times and how the Yankees should fire him. And every time I've said to you, they won't fire him. He is simply a front yes man that will do exactly what Cashman and the analytics team tell him to do and say, yes, sir.
And every time we've discussed that, we kind of end up saying, if you fire Boone, you're just going to get another Boone clone that might not be as well liked by the locker room. So what are you really gaining from that?
Yeah, and ultimately, we can complain as much as we want as Yankees fans. We were in the World Series last year, so we'll see how the playoffs go this year, but it's not like Cashman and the analytics team have done terrible.
No, but we were hungry.
But there is a standard when you're in World Series contention every year that you want to win one, obviously.
But then you have Clint Frazier saying that Cashman is a gangster. How there was the one pitcher that didn't want to be here, and that they got shipped off the team that they traded for in, I think, 2019. And then how in that spring training the following season, Cashman went to the team and said, I have a plane ticket for you. Anybody who doesn't want to be here, get the heck out of here. We don't want you. And how, also the Yankees are really bad with injuries. Frazier saying that Stanton not playing after starting 3 games in the outfield means there's a guarantee he's hurt because the Yankees like to hide things and prolong it as long as possible. Kind of giving.
I don't think Stanton's hurt. I think that they went from a New York short porch to the Cardinals Stadium, which has a pretty deep outfield, and they thanked their lucky stars that Giancarlo Stanton didn't have to make any crazy plays in New York, and we're just like, let's not set him up for failure in St. Louis.
Don't doubt that the off day Thursday led him to wake up Friday with some really sore legs, though.
I mean, that's possible, but who knows? Maybe he got some cardio in behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Now you're at Tampa, same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. Then you go to Yankee Stadium for 7.
Yeah,
we should
see.
Probably, even if Judge plays right field, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Stanton a little bit more time out there just to ease Judge back into it, because getting Judge back to 100% is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if Stanton shows that he can, get a game here and there in the outfield again, that only helps the Yankees keep Judge fresh.
Well, obviously, we'll talk about it closer to playoff time, but Aaron Judge has to be Aaron Judge in the playoffs, and you have to give him an opportunity to be healthy to be Aaron Judge in the playoffs.
Now, let's kind of go on to our studs and duds. I want to talk about Baltimore pitcher Dean Kramer. 1-1. He started 2 games. 15 innings pitched, he gave up 8 hits. He's got a .60 ERA, 13 strikeouts to 2 walks, 1 earned run. Hitters are hitting 163 against him. Really great from, a Baltimore staff that just hasn't shown any life this year. Then on the flip side, you have Houston starter Sean Dubin. 3 games, he pitched 2 2/3 of an inning, gave up 11 hits and 11 runs. 4 of those hits were home runs. He had 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Hitters are hitting .611 against him. That's good for a 37.13 ERA. Abysmal.
Nice. Good stuff there. My stud is Christian Yelich of the Milwaukee Brewers, who, you could really put the whole Brewers team on here. They've been outstanding. Christian Yelich over the last week, though, batting .360 with 11 RBIs. That's the most in the last week, and a 1.189 OPS. My dud, we talked about him last week on the free agent episode preview. Kyle Tucker, not really adding much to that contract in the last 7 days, batting .080, 2 for 25 with 4 strikeouts and 0 RBIs. Not what the Cubs want from their potential MVP candidate as they go down the stretch, and they're not completely out of it with the Brewers, but if Tucker is going to play that way, it might be all she wrote for the Cubs.
Yeah, it's actually insane because I'm pretty sure it was me who a couple months ago was telling you guys, hey, the Brewers are a team that can never be counted out. They're always consistently there. And, everyone was just writing the Cubs as, a lock for the division. And the Brewers got hot. A couple of long win streaks. They've been getting tremendous pitching. Christian Yelich has revitalized his career. It's kind of insane, but, it's funny when you look at the Cubs, just because it seems like when Kyle Tucker cooled off, so did the rest of that lineup. It feels like he is kind of the heart and soul of that team right now. And definitely been a rough go for the Cubs. Now, my stud, I'm going with Francisco Lindor, 1.647 OPS, highest among qualified players over the last 7 days, a 560 batting average. He was able to pile up 14 hits and 25 at bats. 6 of those hits were for extra bases, 3 doubles, 3 home runs. He also added 3 walks and 7 RBIs, pair of stolen bases. Just an outstanding week for Francisco Lindor when the team needed him most. I mean, absolutely reeling. And it's insane to think about that he had a week like that. And other guys on this Mets roster had great weeks like Francisco Alvarez. And the Mets still only went 3-3. That's just how rough things have been for them. Now, on the other side of things, my dud, it's going to be Gleyber Torres of the Detroit Tigers in 25 at-bats, just 3 hits. That's good enough for a 120 batting average. He did have 3 walks, but just 1 RBI, 2 runs scored, a 120 batting average, a 327 OPS. It's kind of interesting because that race over there in the American League Central that we also thought was pretty much locked up. Seems like the Tigers have slowed down. Gleyber Torres and Javi Baez are 2 big reasons why the Tigers have kind of taken a step back as well.
And this is why when we talk about all these teams, you can't really count anybody out because, it could be the worst. I think Ben says it all the time. You're not as good as your highest highs. You're not as bad as your lowest lows.
Yeah, it's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems.
Exactly. Everybody had the Tigers and the Cubs as like a guaranteed World Series matchup. PCA is going to be an MVP better than Ohtani. He's fallen off. The Tigers have fallen off. It's anybody's game.
Yeah, it's really shaping up for a fun postseason. I will say that.
One that Manfred doesn't deserve to be commissioner of. Now, the weekly series highlight, the series I want to really highlight, we've talked about Yankees, Red Sox, the later part of the week. Big for both sides, 4 games set at the stadium. The Yankees have played really poorly against Boston, but history's on the Yankees side. Boston has an abysmal record at Yankee Stadium since 2019 in the months of August and September. They have, I think, 1 series win in that whole span in the later end of the regular season. Hopefully that trend continues. We've seen it continue, for the Yankees and Minnesota Twins for the last 25 years. So maybe this is one that can also keep going. The Yankees, in order for me to really start to get behind them and think that they can be a real competitor again, they need to take 3 out of 4 from Boston, not split it, win the series.
Yeah, Corey, that's the biggest series of both teams' season. It could be on the year, but certainly up until this point. A series that I'm going with, I'm going back to the well. I hit this series last week. I'm going to say it again. Dodgers, or for longtime viewers, Dodgers, travel to San Diego to take on the Padres. The Dodgers swept the Padres last week. The Padres need to bounce back and answer back because, man, if the Dodgers win this series or sweep again, and of your last 6, you lost 5 or 6 to your biggest division rival, that does not spell well for momentum when these 2 teams probably inevitably face in the NLDS.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. I think that, it's a fun matchup, but like we discussed earlier, it is not a premier matchup of the NL West. I still think that Dodgers-Giants has more juice than Dodgers-Padres.
Not this season, it doesn't.
But not this season.
Not with the expert marketing I gave it.
No, Dodgers-Padres, that is top tier. Somebody pay this man for that. I want to see that on shirts. That's what's in.
What could I say?
Ben, what series do you want to highlight?
Yeah, so for me, it's going to be Mets-Phillies. This is a huge series for the Mets because with the deficit they currently face in the division, this is a way to get right back in it, or it's a way for the Phillies to put the Mets out of their misery and basically put the NL East race to bed. A race that at the trade deadline was the closest, and a race that made history. No two teams had ever been separated by fewer than 2 games for as long as the Mets and Phillies were separated. It was like a game and a half or fewer for, I believe, 58 days or something along those lines. So,
wow.
Absolutely insane the way that race in the National League East was going, and just a slide by the Mets. And what's crazy is the Phillies haven't been playing their best baseball during the stretch either. It's just the Mets have been so bad. So, really big series coming up. We'll see what happens.
The ceiling seems like it's closing in on your team when you're the one watching. Then again, you have the other teams that you're rooting against. They're also falling apart. The Dodgers aren't playing well. The Phillies haven't really blown away when the Mets have been playing poorly. The Mets, the Yankees, the Tigers, everybody is having their struggles. Even the Blue Jays are not playing very well. The only team playing well is the Brewers. The Brewers are the only team playing well, it feels like. And even then, I feel like the Brewers are for real, but do people really, when they think of October, think of the Brewers as the team to beat, or is it still the Dodgers and the Padres and the Mets?
I mean, to put some weight to what you said,
Phillies.
In teams' last 10 games, there is only 5 teams in baseball with 7 or more wins. The Brewers 9-1, the Braves 8-2, the Royals 7-3, the Tigers 7-3, and the Yankees 7-3. Everybody else has less than 7 wins in their last 10 games. So it's middle of the pack or bad baseball for a lot of teams right now.
And, as we're looking at that, I also do want to note that the Colorado Rockies have a negative 327 run differential in the season, and it's mid-August. I feel like that's a fun thing to note.
What was the Marlins last year?
Let me see.
The next worst in baseball this year is the Nationals at 151. So the Rockies have more than double the next worst team's run differential.
Let's see. Marlins run differential 2024. Let me pull that up. 2024 run differential. The Marlins were minus 204. The White Sox last year were minus 306.
So, I mean, the Rockies are on pace to pass last year's White Sox in terms of terrible.
Even the 2023 A's were at minus 339 on the season.
I mean, listen, guys, there's just so much talent in baseball we need to expand. I think that's the lesson we just learned.
But that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week. Maybe Manfred will say some more dumb things. Maybe some of these races blow apart. Maybe they get a little
he
closer.
Definitely will. Just will there be a microphone on him or not?
Very true. But that's going to do it. Dylan Mel, Ben Mandel, Corey Jason. This has been the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Signing off.